Welcome to the California Automated Drone Podcast, where we talk to experts about their experiences in the drone industry. I'm your host, Josh Friedman, and I am so excited that we are here today with Yohan Baillot of Art Cortex to talk about augmented reality and software development in the drone industry.
There are drone sports community groups in just about every community.
Oh, I want to be a drone service provider and I'm going to go do drone mapping. But for what?
All of the things that I've done is to promote safety for our industry.
But if you really want to go in depth into understanding what you're doing, a community college along with online learning is a way to go.
I am your host, Josh Friedman, and we are here today with Yohan Baillot of Art Cortex. Yohan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, good morning, Josh, and thank you for having me on the program today.
It's absolutely my pleasure. So we're talking today about augmented reality, which is a very, very hot topic for all types of industries right now, and there's a lot that we could do with drones. But first of all, I want to talk about you and what you do with augmented reality. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Josh. So I'm from France. I've been here in the country for 25 years. I'm also a US citizen. I'm basically having a background as a system engineer, electrical engineering, and computer science. And I have focused my career on the field of augmented reality, which we're going to talk about. So augmented reality is to superimpose graphics, the 3D graphics, on the real world, on a view of the real world, either through video or glasses for the future, and to merge those graphics with the real world so that they appear to be attached and part of the real world. And that can be used to simulate some situation that don't exist or see things that are not visible, like what is behind an object or what is an object with some annotation.
So Yohan, yeah, augmented reality is fascinating right now. So many people are getting into it. When did you start getting involved in augmented reality? Because, when I met you, I was surprised. I think it's way ahead of most people and way ahead of the industry.
Yeah, correct. Yes, thank you. So I came 25 years ago from France in the US as an exchange student at University of North Carolina, and they were starting to work on this technology for medical use and other research use, and working on helmet mounted displays, those glasses that you see in futuristic movies. So I got very passionate by this technology right away, saw a lot of application, and decided to make it the focus of my career.
I love it, and I've seen some really amazing things. Tell us, what are some of the early projects that you were doing, specifically with first responders, police, fire, that kind of a thing?
Yes, so first I was involved with the defense sector mostly, where there was a lot of application to get information of what's going on in the battlefield, where are the good guy, where is the bad guy on the map and into the real world, and also to simulate something that do not exist for training. So I first worked with the soldier and first responder that are very similar in use case. They need ruggedized hardware that work all the time, and they need custom development and things that are futuristic like AR and VR. So I work with them first to provide them a situation awareness tool where they can see each other and see where they are and see point of interest.
It was fascinating. You're seeing these people literally through buildings. I mean, you had a whole homing device situation that was on them that you were able to track and see on a screen where each person was in a building with altitude as well as throughout each floor. Is that correct?
Correct, yes. There was a sensor mounted on the person, some kind of foot sensor, as well as something on the belt, and also a technology called ultra-wideband that is basically a multitude of frequencies that can go through the building, and very much like GPS can triangulate your location inside the building. So this was visualized outside of the building with a truck that had a video camera and a screen. At the time, there was not yet some eyewear, but now you could do this with eyewear, and that's some of the development we're starting to do.
So let's fast forward to now, okay? So I know DJI with the Mavic Pro 1 had some augmented reality software even built into the drone software, and they had their own headset that they created probably 2-3 years ago. I remember getting a demo on it. It was a little clunky and a little big, But it was a lot of fun because you could fly the Mavic and you could do like a race course in the sky where you're going through triangles and squares and all these different shapes and basically racing where you can see what the drone sees, but also you have these augmented objects in the sky. It was a lot of fun. That said, I think that there's a lot of practical use in a lot of different industries. And so I'd love for you to kind of just give me a quick overview of some of the different ways that we can use drones to augment the augmented reality experience. And then I want to see some samples. But first, let's talk about it. So what are some of the different cases where we can use drones to help with augmented reality in the real world for business?
Yeah, so there are several use cases to work with a drone. So the drone first is a machine, and so you can use augmented reality to annotate this machine by using a phone or some eyewear. You can see some annotation, and you could see what are the parts of this drone. You could see how to disassemble them, to put them apart, to mount them, to repair the drone. So there could be all kind of instruction that will be delivered to augmented reality for drone or for any type of device for that matter. That's one of the first application. Another application is a lot of persons don't yet have a drone, are able to buy one, or need to work on the software or training before they purchase one. So you can also use augmented reality or virtual reality to actually simulate a real drone and see it moving around and flying it and being able to get trained before having a real drone. There is companies that deliver a drone simulator and software, DJI, another company, so that you can actually develop the software for simulation purposes or for visualization purposes. Another area is to actually augment the drone camera, which is very similar to the DJI application you are talking about, either from a 360 camera inside the drone or from a pan-tilt zoom camera that can be looking at a specific area. So it can be used for visualization pleasure, gaming or entertainment or movie, pre-recording of a situation that you might want to film from a drone. But it can also be used with first responder, for example, or with real estate to do building pre-visualization or to show the location of a fire as well as responder around that fire and see how the two relate, so that if fire is surrounding the first responder, you can act by seeing what you see from the sky. And finally, you can also annotate the drone itself. In the view from the ground, you can annotate the drone, and you can also show virtual screen. Instead of having a physical command center with a physical remote control that has a limited screen space, once eyewear are coming, you're able to project in front of you your virtual command center that you usually see on a physical computer. So there's tons of application.
And I know you have some cool samples. And what I'm loving about this technology is that it could be used for gaming, it could be used for entertainment, it could be used to be trained, like you're saying, to fly drones. But there's a ton of practical uses that are kind of new and innovative that could be used for all kinds of industries. And so I want to see some samples right now. The first one that fascinated me, and we'll do a screen share in a moment, but not quite yet. But the first one that fascinated me was a sample of a stadium. And I love this because I actually worked on a project a couple of years back where we were the drone team, and we had 3 pilots. We had 6 different people on the ground inside of a stadium and outside of a stadium, and we were capturing a 3D model that they could use for an augmented reality project that eventually did come to fruition. It was pretty impressive and amazing. And you have a sample of something very similar that you could share with us. So let's go ahead. We'll start the screen share, and we'll check it out. All right, so this one's a little bit narrow on the screen, but we could definitely see it here. So go ahead and give us an example of what are we looking at here?
Yes, so here you will be looking at a video shown through a mobile device, either eyewear or a phone, that show a scene of for sport purpose. So this could be used at home, where you can see there's a stadium, there is a virtual screen that show a video, which could be a video educating you on your drone and But here that's for the sport purpose. So we show a stadium, and as you can see, there is also a player on the stadium. There are not texture in this specific video with a little bit of a glitch, but you can see the player. So this can be used, for example, in the future to do sport viewing. Instead of going to the stadium, you bring the stadium to you. And so one of the things we need, for example, in this kind of application is a 3D model of the stadium. And that's where drones are being used partly for solving this problem, to create 3D model. And we have a pipeline to be able to bring this 3D model into a visualization system like this one.
And what's cool is that this has been a completely different use case than what we had created, but the technology and the process is the same, using the drone at the stadium to create that 3D model so that we can then take that model and put it in the software and augment it. And as long as you're here, I'm also seeing the second use case that you mentioned, which is creating a screen in the sky or in the air that doesn't exist. It's a virtual monitor that you mentioned we can use for all kinds of things. But tell me about the use case that you have here.
Yes, so you can display a plane as a piece of graphics, and you can texture that plane with what's coming from a computer. And so you can basically create a virtual screen to replace your physical screen. So that makes the equipment lighter potentially, but more importantly, that offer you a much better view than if you had a small remote control screen.
So another example that you shared with me that I really loved was literally creating a skyscraper, a building that doesn't exist currently, and placing it into a space that could obviously be captured by standard video or by drone. Go ahead and show us that example there.
Yeah, so this can be a real estate pre-visualization, like the term is saying, but that's basically showing a building or any type of other structure before it's built onto the real world, so that you can see how it's going to merge with the rest of the real world and the surrounding environment. So here you can see a 3D model of a skyscraper that has been placed and filmed from a vehicle. But you could do exactly the same from a drone. And you can see as the vehicle is moving, the visual tracking offered by Augmented Reality keeps the building attached to the same place of the real world, as you can see as the vehicle is moving here.
And we hope the building doesn't end up on top of the freeway, obviously, but I totally understand the concept there, and it's a great use case for using the drone to create the infrastructure of the ground and then placing an image over it. I want to see one more example that I really loved, and this one was really similar to like Pokemon, right? You had one where you were placing objects in just an area, and people could use augmented reality to see these objects, and then obviously in a future use case use the drone to create that look, that feel, that infrastructure. So as we mentioned, there's a lot of different industries, and we could probably share examples all day long, but because of time's sake, I just want to share one more that I was really fascinated by. And this is a use case for first responders, where, as you'll show in a second, the drone, once again, was used to create a model or a map of the area, and then you're using your augmented reality to track people. Can we see that one?
Sure, yeah. In this video, you can see there's two views side by side. And so there's a mobile user on the right side that is wearing either some glasses or a mobile device. And on the left side, you can see a command center. And you can see here in this part of the video, the mobile user can see the command center user on the balcony at the top in this box. And in a couple of seconds, you're going to see the mobile user in the view of the command center user on the left, seen as he's passing by downstairs. So they can see each other with those box, and you can see also at the bottom of the video, you can see those two little characters being on the map as well. So they can see each other in the map and in the air. You can see there is also a virtual screen that is also in this video. And you can see in this video that they can see each other, and they can put some reports where they are. They can show that there is something of interest to look at here. And they have situation awareness as a consequence. Here is the report that the mobile firefighter just put, and you can see it's standing in the air at that location.
And again, this is a way to track people, to know where people are that you work with, where your team members are, that kind of a thing. I could absolutely even see a military use case for this as well. But I think that, for this particular use, first responder, fire, police, what a fantastic way for somebody on a ground station to be able to have eyes on everybody on the scene without having to physically be at the scene. Even they could look at this from anywhere.
Yeah, originally this was done actually around 9/11 because there was most of the casualty with firefighter happened because we don't know which firefighter is inside or outside of the building, and sometimes firefighter get trapped in building and run out of oxygen, and that's the main reason of death. So this is really a tool that was started for that, to try to locate them.
That is so cool. I have just one more question for you, which we're going to be asking everybody as part of the podcast, which is, how does somebody get into being a software engineer for augmented reality? What do they have to do? What do they need to learn?
Sure. Well, they can contact me if they want, but usually the community right now is working with platforms such as Unreal or Unity. I personally work with Unity much more, but those platforms allow to develop across many different devices. That's one of the best things. So, for example, it can develop for Android and for iOS phone, but also for some of the new VR and AR eyewear. So software is definitely needed with some mobile development in Android and iOS, but Unity is pretty much what you need to learn out of the box.
And a lot of this stuff can be learned at your local community colleges, especially throughout the state of California. They have classes in this software and obviously intro to computer science and other software development in order to get to the level where you're at, creating augmented reality.
Yeah, and there is also tools such as real ROS, for example, the real operating system, real-time operating system that allow to communicate with device like drone, and this is starting to also be connected with Unity. So there's lots of work in this area in university and research as well.
Well, Yohan, thank you so much for your time and for sharing so much of what you're doing with us. Thank you, everybody, for watching the California Automated Drone Podcast. If you want more information about how your career can literally take off, check out CaliforniaAutomated.com. Find us on social media, like, subscribe, and share. This has been another awesome episode of the California Automated Drone Podcast. I'm Josh Friedman, wishing all of you to fly safe and fly often.